Quarto e ultimo appuntamento all'InLaguna Film Festival. Io sono sempre Marco Grifò del Salotto Monogatari.
E io sono sempre Leo Canali di Casaba Podcast.
Non siamo cambiati nel frattempo. E oggi abbiamo con noi Jean-François Ravagnan. We have here with us Jean-François Ravagnan that has a movie in the main competition of the festival, which is La Dernière Rive. The movie is about the story of a Gambian immigrant, Pathé, who died in 2017 in Venice in the Canal Grande. His death was shot with the telephone by many people that were present and didn't intervene. And so I'd like to ask you that the movie is about somehow the journey of Pathé to arrive in Europe. What I'd like to ask you is. We dealt a lot with the responsibility with the artists here, and so I'd like to ask you, how can you do a movie about this subject as a European director, and how did you gain the trust from the people you interview in the movie?
Well, thank you first for this podcast. It's always a pleasure to be able to go behind the movie. It's a pleasure to go behind this image that you mentioned about social media and the death of Pathé Sabali. Well, in your question, there is two questions about the trust, and first about your positionality, especially if you are a European filmmaker that you want to go back to Africa and try to tell this kind of story. Well, I want to say that the first feeling that I catch from this video, of course, is a kind of anger, a kind of rage, the feeling to be helpless about this. But and I start to maybe think about a movie, maybe more activist kind of movie. But I don't know if I need to say thankfully, but at that time it was no really data about Pathé Sabali, because it was an investigation in Venice, and very, very quickly I understood that the body was bring back to Gambia. So I found someone that helped me in Milano to reach the family, and we sent a message like that to them, and it took between the event of Venice and the time that I can meet the family for the first time, it took 1 year and a half, and I still didn't know at that time what kind of movie can be, and if there is a story that can be told, and how to do it. And really, the game changer, I will say, it when I arrived in the village, I realized that my anger that I had at that time was really a kind of a privilege. European, comfortable filmmaker privilege, because I have the privilege to travel there without any problem with my passport, And so when I arrived there, I saw that the family was really in other feeling. You want I stop?
Just maybe an issue with
it's
the,
okay. It's okay.
With the mics. Okay. We'll check that in post-production, right? Okay.
Oh, you can ask to an AI to emulate my voice, and after you can do what you want. But I was saying that when I arrived there in this village, in this really concrete reality, I understood that my anger was really kind of a privilege. And to go back to the second part of your question about trust, I think is the case for the documentary in general, but there it was even more. The case is like that you need to find your positionality, because you arrive there in a village, in a very remote area. You bring with you maybe a camera. So there is an imbalance things. Of course, you just be there. This is an imbalance. So you need to try to reduce this difference, this gap that there is between you and the family. And really, to reduce this, we don't go to a classic kind of interview method. we just put the camera there. We don't shoot, we don't record, we just talk and we try to understand what happened. And you need to, as you say, win the trust of the family. And in the case of Pate Sabali, for example, when I was in the village, it was a cousin of Pate. He was living in Spain, Barcelona. And he was not aware that I was in the village. So very quickly, the family said to me, it's not against you, but you need to go to see first our brother there. He wants to talk to you. And after, you will have the consent of everybody. And at that point, we can start to talk.
In fact, it's about that. It's pretty impressive. One of the last sentences in the movie, which is, "I prefer to have Pate with me than have this movie." You know, so you put in the final editing also this sentence, which is like. I'd say the definitive trust between you and the people, because somehow they were able to say that, you were able to put it into the movie, and it's not a contradiction, even if it's clearly it's normal that he says that, and it makes sense at the end of the movie that the movie exists even if he says this thing.
Yeah, and he opened by, "You don't know my brother, you just read this in newspaper. We need to know what is your intention before to talk to you. You are a stranger, you can't understand." So for me, it was very important to have this sentence toward me, because for me, it's also a sentence toward the audience. Because the "you" that they use can be put inside the audience. And also, if we go to the end of the movie, after to say, "I will prefer that Pate was in front of me," there is this sequence, the prayer sequence. And in fact, it's the last thing that we shoot in the village. After we go to other places like in Malta or Venice. But it was the last thing that we shoot, and I knew that Jero go to pray sometimes, his brother. And I knew that this prayer can happen in the very dry season, because there is a lot of trees, and so during the rainy season you can't go there. But Pate, actually, the body is there, it's buried there, and he allowed me to be there. And what he allowed me also is to record it synchronized. Because he made the prayer is the first time in the movie that the voice and the body, if I may say, are synchronized. And it's looked like that this is the final trust. Mm-hmm. It's the final moment that, okay, you go so deep in the trust that you can be there with me, pray for him, pray for the audience, and to try to bring the audience with us. And this is really the last step about trust.
I think one of the most interesting thing behind your movie is something that we explored yesterday with some young directors that are in the festival and that worked with documentary. And I don't know. Yesterday we talked about that the distinction between documentary cinema and fictional cinema is something that we have to discuss about that. But now today, with the common regime of visibility of overexposed life that we live, the distinction between documentary cinema and fictional cinema often is pretty undistinguishable. And but in a case like your movie, I think that one of the, when I watch it, I thought, wow, really I can feel the effort to don't transform your protagonist in a character. And I totally can feel this effort. So I want to explore maybe this distinction between documentary and fiction and this effort with you in rapport to what we discussed yesterday with the other director.
It's very, very interesting that you ask me that, because all the time this very thin line between fiction and documentary was there. Of course, here we spoke about first maybe the images, but the movie was really conceived first by sound, because between the voiceover and actually what you see on the screen, there is like 3 years gap, because we first work with the sound, we try to make the storytelling just by the sound, and after we go back to the village to try to found the footage can support the sound and not make another storytelling. It's really a balance between the movie that you watch and the movie that you hear. But about this fiction documentary line, I will say that is my first creative documentary. I have a fictional background, but I want to say that this territory of creative documentary allows you a lot of freedom inside the storytelling. Also about the production method, because we don't ask you or waiting for you that you have a conventional storytelling way. And about the way to make image, I want to say that the family also teach us. I say us because we are 3 in the village, 1 interpreter, 1 DOP, and I was making the sound, and they teach us how to shoot, because it was we need to try to find a safe space, so we will not make front camera, we will be on the side and stuff like that, and it's look like that they push us without any indication, it is non-verbal, to make kind of still images, and it's true that sometimes, for example, when we go to the river, there is this scene where the brother go with the cow to the river. I have been with him so many times to the river without nobody. We are just 2 of us, and I have a little dictionary with Fula words, and he speak a little bit English. So we stayed together like that in a silence. And I was making a lot of notes about shots, like with maybe more fictional state of mind, but many time after, when we come back, I knew where the camera will be as kind of fictional director, but I knew that what happened in front of me was live, and I didn't interfere, But it's true that sometimes I was watching the daily, say, we are so just toward the fiction, and it's very difficult because we still need to believe in this story and not thinking that it's fictional. And to go even more further about this, when we tried to get funding, I had just like a script, like a really screenplay with just the voice and the storytelling of the 3 characters. And I remember one producer told me, "Oh, you wrote this? It's fictional." I said, "No, they actually talk like that. The vocabulary, the images, the poetry of Fula is there. I can't invent, for example, traveling is fragile like giving birth." It's a very beautiful line, but it's real, So also you need to work to bring this kind of reality inside sometime fictional, I will say, settings, For example, the camera also, technically, I really want a camera with cinematographic lenses, It's not... it's because I really want also to make an homage to this story, to not making, really the reverse angle of the video. The video was made with a cell phone. Okay, can we just calm down a little bit and try to make something good technically, and so it's go toward kind of fictional reflex.
In fact, what I really appreciate about your movie is how from the European side you can clearly say that you're focusing on Pathé as a single person. Is not one of the many people that arrive in Europe in immigration. But from the other side, when you try to delve into the African point of view, they talk about people going away as in a very peculiar way. I'd say that it's like a ritual, like something that happens so much and happens so continuously that I hardly distinguished the prayers from the poetic moments, from the descriptions of what happens. So how did you feel when you discovered this side of immigration, which is a totally different side that we don't usually see in cinema or anywhere else?
This wider point of view from this remote village in Africa was for me a huge opportunity to let them speak for once, and to not have this very Eurocentric maybe point of view. And also what I realized also is Pate's story is very singular because, there is a distinction, and in fact, the writer Eri De Luca make it on the blog because few days after the death of Pate, he make a little short text about what happened to Venice, and he was saying something, un fatto personale, I think it was the title of the article, about the fact that, we are in a very era of mass killing in Mediterranean Sea, but Pate take it something very personal, and he decide by himself to end it, But when I was in Africa, the family opened me maybe more complexity about what is it to let a child go, for different reason, of course. And also when I met the friend in Malta, also he helped me to say, from our point of view, living in Europe is very difficult, and we are not allowed to tell the truth to the family there, So all of this go very, very become very complex, and also about mental issue in exile. Also, it was something that I didn't know when I started to work on it. I didn't know that Pate travel, get the paper pretty quickly, and after he gone back to the village, but they don't want that he go in Europe, and you realize that he go in Europe because he need to renew the paper. So you see all of this tension and all of these forces around these families. It's just not about the people that they leave, it's also about the people that they stay.
I have another question under maybe a more technical point of view, because all the stages of his journey is like represented in a very different way also under a visual point of view. You apart from the sequence with the cell phone at the beginning of the movie, you could see Venice just in out of focus shots that really get stuck in my head, and in contrast with them the images of Africa and all the intermediate steps between Gambia and Italy, so Libya, but also maybe some other place in Europe, and you shoot at a certain moment of the movie some places on the border between Africa and Europe, in a very nearly uncanny way. They are really, it's strange, and I'd like to ask you, how do you work in the post-production process with these different materials, and if it was intentional, this really different aspects of all the stages?
Yeah, well, with the DOP, we try to, as I said, to support the storytelling, the voiceover storytelling. So we get a lot of material visually, because sometimes we didn't know if it will be work or not. Only on the editing room you can feel it, But what we have done with the editor, when we arrive, we didn't go to the computer directly because we already have the storytelling by voice, So we print the still image from the shots, and we put everything on a huge board, and we try to feel the poetry of the images, because there is a kind of a rhythm of symbols inside the voiceover. So we try to find the same symbols inside the visual. And also when we go back to the computer after to try to figure out on the board, we work like if we have like a reel. It's look like that in the computer. You can go directly in the shot that you want, but we make the exercise each time that if you want to go to this shot, because I have the number of the shot, we need to see all the reel of the day to all the time go toward the images, and it's look like brainwashing a little bit. But sometimes ideas come like that and say, oh, I completely forget this shot. Okay. And we're looking for that. It's okay. Let's take it, And each time that we put the images with the voiceover, we try. Sometimes it was not working. So we stop the computer and we go back to the paper wall, and I with the editor, it was like you feel that the material reveal himself toward you, and specifically about Venice is really the last thing that we shoot for the whole movie is the 2 last days of shooting in Venice. And it was very difficult for me to shoot Venice in focus, because we wake up very early with my DOP and we shoot inside Venice empty like that. And yeah, but we already saw this so many times. It's not working, we need something. And suddenly we start to, it's a little gesture that you can make with the lens, is that you don't unfocus, but you just move the lens inside the body of camera, So it's not special effect, it's real practical effect. Because for me, Venice, if we are in the point of view of the family, they never saw Venice. It's kind of something
phantasmatic.
Yes. And it's look like we are in the kingdom of the shadows and death, like that. And when we try to work inside Venice with the DOP, we say, oh, maybe one of these shadow can be Pate or so, this shape can be him. So we work Venice like that to figure out, to go behind also the image that we have of Venice as a little maybe postcard style, but it's like that we done. And but and to conclude, maybe read the real question at the end, when we finish the movie, the last day of editing, I remember that we look each other with the editor and we say, oh, in fact, we make a very long prayer. This movie is like a real long prayer to try to rehumanize the one that was dehumanized by a very short video, But there is a paradox of this, because everybody remember maybe Pate Sabali because it was very spectacular, it was in Venice. What happened to people that they will be never shot or something like that? That's why at the end, when the brothers say, you or the missing ones, we can have maybe a more wide point of view about these questions.
I want to add just some little question. This last metaphor that you say is very beautiful. I'm guilty of add something to that, but I was thinking about your words, and this last metaphor is pretty powerful, because we can say, when I listen the story of production of a movie like yours, I think very sadly, yes, probably taking time, and taking maybe sometimes a lot of time, is the only way to broke this regime of visibility and speed of this time, and made growing up empathy between people. But it takes a lot of time. And it's like articulate a long prayer and not just focus on some instant of the world captured by one frame.
Yeah, this time also is a way to remove your unlearn what you have inside you, And I have a very, very, very quick example. In the movie, the father take his breakfast, and we should do this every day. So we shoot first, and we watch the dailies, and we don't understand why there is something not working. And we realize that, in fact, the camera, we still stand when we do this. So we do it again to the level of so the time allowed you also to unlearn what you think that you know. And but yeah, I was saying this yesterday because a lot of people ask me about time that the family take to give me confidence and trust, time about how the storytelling is very, very calm and take time, but also time of production. And I think that today, with the way that production company and also funding go in a certain way, I think it will be impossible to do it again. really. Sadly, but it's like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eccoci di nuovo qua, siamo sempre a InLaguna Film Festival. Questa è l'ultima intervista, quindi siamo anche un po' emozionati. We are a little bit touched for this occasion because we love the movie both, and this is, as I say before, the last interview of InLaguna Film Festival, so it's a great occasion for all of us. So we are here with Léonor Sérraille and Andranic Manet, the director and the main actor of Ari, that is in official competition in Laguna Film Festival. And we're talking about a really complex movie, I have to say, and emotionally and intellectually. I try to start with we talk with the other author that we meet in this festival with maybe in the previous occasion we start with production curiosity or something like that, but I want to go straight to the point, because one of the things that I really touched me of your movie is that you talked about a story of a potential father that have a great problem to deal with this responsibility in life, and for me is something really new in the landscape of contemporary cinema. Is something like a figure that I know in my life, because it's problem that it's happened that maybe with a friend you told about these things, but didn't have a real representation in cinema today. So I want to ask you, how did it start, and how you find this particular figure for your movie?
I think that thanks for the question, and I think this thematic came directly from the different actors I met. They were all from the conservatory, National Conservatory in Paris. And as I was just only at the beginning of a script, writing just a little bit, I was very open about everything. So I met each one, 1 hour and a half, and we talked a lot. And many men were talking about being father, so it stayed in my mind, and I used it to write. But it was like something at the beginning, not present directly in the script. It was like maybe I was trying to write what is a potentially soft man, and maybe paternity was only one petal of the flower, you know. But at the end of the writing and very close to the shooting, I added the paternity in the movie, very close to the shooting. I mean, 5 weeks before, I called Andranic and telling him that it was maybe new direction. But I don't know. I think it was given by the team, by the mood, by the now. I mean, we all are looking for what can put sense in our lives, and I don't know. It's not very conscious. It's. I think that the movie looks like a lot to the people who made it, the movie, and it's one of the possibilities to have sense in life. So, like being a mother, father, or having a job that have sense for you. So it's one of the potentials of life.
So you start the writing process based on the research, human research, talking with people, talking with this group of actors. There is no direct direction of the screenwriting in the previous phase of the movie.
Oh no, I was feeling very shy with all the team of actors I have to meet, and I was not sure about my script. I had no scripts at all. I mean, I just said it's a portrait of a young teacher, but it was not really good script. So I was searching for food to write, and I just knew that I wanted to make a movie where almost nothing happens, just people talking and just wow, calm, and just to take the time with someone and to let him drive us in his mind. It was the point. But sorry, I lost myself.
We totally got it. I like to ask to Andranic about the way of playing this kind of character. Also considering what Leo said about, and also what Léonor said, so about how it is to portray a character which is somehow soft, but is sensitive mostly, and but also under a technical point of view, the camera is very near to the character. There are just brief moments where there are bigger landscapes, but it's very rare in the movie. So during the filming, it was more like you act, I follow you, you act and the director follow you, or on the reverse, the director told you perfectly what you had to do?
For the first question, so I met Léonor, and there was already some scenes, some script, and almost the idea of the father came yet from the seahorses idea. It was already there, so the idea of father was already somewhere, and I think the meeting of each other for the character make the link of being father, etc. We talked a lot, we exchanged a lot of movies about what we're thinking about the character. There was a film of Marco Ferreri, Pipi Caca Dodo, with Roberto Benigni, who spent time with children, and at the end he became a father, and so it was already there. So we make this a common language, between us to understand ourselves of what we're talking about. And for the technical point of view, Léonor had a real good intentions. We understood each other a lot of where we need to go for this moment of the movie. So after she had the intelligence also to keep an eye, but to leave the actors free. Not always me, but the children also, and the other friends of the father and all the characters. So it was always a consultation between all together, and it was never the director idea and after actor can suggest. It was like a common discussion always.
You played together,
Yeah.
The camera was in the scene as much as the character.
Yeah, really. And the operator and the sound operator and all the big post, they always, the lead post, sorry. It's they always came with the actor during, we called it in France, la mise en place, when we are, and they are with us, first of all with the actor, after with them, and after with all the crew. So it's like we build together the puzzle, They didn't arrive and we say we're going to do like that. It's always a common discussion.
I think the first scene of the movie is one of the most shocking scene that I see in the last year in cinema. Not for the content of the scene, because it's not so exploitation mood shocking. Okay, is for the powerful of the emotional feeling that you can hit you as a spectator when see you in this very difficult situation. So I want to ask, but I think is because if I understand, is a together work. It's not only you in front of the camera. Is the camera that working with you, that work follow your idea. So I think it's a common question, because portrait a character that have this sensibility that is really out of the world today, and have the sensibility to not put this characterization in a medical way, in a psychiatric way, but is the way that this character lived the world. And now in these days is totally out of the world, but it's not a matter of psychiatric help or something. For me, it's pretty powerful for the movie. And so I want to ask you how you manage with this emotional content for your movie and for your acting.
Maybe just for the editing things of this sequence, because I will let Andranic talk about how we work on this moment. But the question we have with the editor while we are working on this sequence is this: maybe is we are ill and is okay. So we are always playing between like an aquarium, and he's looking at us, telling us, you are completely crazy people, I'm okay. So who is okay? That was the question of and it was good to have this sequence at the beginning of the movie about this is not going to be is not so bad. Maybe you are. So it was the discussion we have with the editor.
Yes, the question of Harry, if we can resume in one line that came at the end of the shooting, we realized that maybe it's a character who say a lot about the big things. It's not the big subjects. There is most grave. There is something that can be more heartful of something, and so he have a positive way of life. But sometimes, if you are too much positive, you cannot, how to say, analyze yourself with the good point of view, also critique. And at this moment, the personage, he needs to look at his bad vibes also. And it's always the problematic when you meet someone who is unique, but who had a lot of charm because he's very vulnerable, charming, and but he needs to sometimes adapt a little bit. And when you are in front of children, you always need to understand what you can say, why you cannot. And so it was always the question, what is very important and what is not. I don't know if it's very clear.
I have a...
It's important that it is not so clear. I think
no, in fact,
important.
I like to talk about that because it's under the point of view of writing. You're also a writer of this movie. So when I watched the movie, I was really impressed by the scene in the museum and description of the painting and the objects in the painting that represented the person that is portrayed, And I watched I was like set by this scene watching the movie. Like, okay, we can't really grasp everything of this character. It's still a mystery, also at the end of the movie. And we observe a portrait that's made by the things that are around the character, the situations, the people he knows, and all these things. So I like to know if in the writing process of the movie you were convinced if you could really go at the heart of the character, or if you understood during the writing process that maybe this character needs to be a little mysterious, so I need to arrive from the other side, the sides, and not at the center.
Well, I think that for this movie or all the movies I wrote, it's the character they always need to be mysterious for me. I don't have to dominate the characters; they have to do it's the contrary. So it's like playing with the character and how to write and to find some treasures, and sometimes no, sometimes nothing. It's no pasa nada. But it was like there is something about Harry I write, and something Andranic is going to put in the movie. We are going to shake it, and it's like you don't. I like the idea that there is something you don't own. I mean, for me, it will be very boring to control everything, even if I love movies, very controlled too. But in a way of catching something about life and very unique, I like the idea that maybe it's not going to happen. I like this contradiction. Maybe it's going to fail, but okay, it's a game. But for Harry particularly, I wanted to, more than my first movie, it is always a portrait, I wanted to feel things through his eyes, through his mind, not being close to see him very well, but feel life with his sensibility. So that's all.
Yeah. Andranic mentioned Marco Ferreri. I'd like to ask you about maybe your inspiration for your works. What are the cinema that you like, that you watch? If it is French cinema or even from other countries.
Always difficult. This
Yes, always difficult.
Well, actually, for this movie, I was looking at comment ça s'appelle? Pardon, Jean Rouch. Jean Rouch. And I was talking about Hélène Louvard, who should have made the movie, that I wanted to ask people in the streets how they feel now, because I think I was not feeling very well at the moment of writing. And she told me, you can put all your depression in your movie, it's okay. So I said, it was a joke, but it was kind of good answer. She told me that it can be very funny to make the portrait. So I think it was like, how can we have a little team in Lille and to be close to someone and to find, to reveal, to share with people the poetry he has with him. And that's if there is no religion, if there is no success, if there is no love, if there is nothing, what you have left on the world. So you have people and all their world, and that's crazy warm feeling. So we wanted to make the movie like that, like maybe there's just his little fire inside of him, and it's a big adventure to catch him. So, but as a director, I mean, it's a lot of
Of course.
yeah,
of course.
a lot.
And I want to ask you about this because is something that we mentioned, and I understand that this work on this project is a work in progress for try to listen all the stimulus that can come from the material. So how do you manage all of this in the editing room of the movie?
I think Clémence Carré.
I know her since 4 movies, my short movie too, and well, you cannot do incredible things if you don't have the good rush. So we were very lucky because we could use everything. You know, there were only 3 or 4 takes, because we were shooting in film in 16mm, so it was a little material, but it was all good, no problem of light or something. So we played a lot. It was just like we have for few times, so we are going to try something extreme and to see. When you know someone very well, it's easier to work. But it was to feel the breath of the character each day. Is the movie breathing like Harry? Yes, no, okay, so we are going to change some little colors. But and we work a lot with the music. Sometimes trying hard metal music to see how it works, and then we put off. And sometimes making something au hasard. Trying something totally absurd, but sometimes it's very because it forces you to be sure about what you need. Yes.
I think we are very satisfied. Thank you. Thank you, really.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.